thing I worry most about is we've been trapped in a cycle of flat wages for a really long time, both here in Washington State and across the country. While we've had a lot of prosperity and growth, it's mostly been at the top. The top 10% have been doing really well, but really the bulk of people have had wages have been flat while the cost of living has been climbing. And that's, I think, part of the reason our politics are so angry and disjointed right now, is that when people are feeling that sense of scarcity, it brings out the worst in them. And so our social cohesion is starting to tear apart. And I worry that what you're seeing coming out of the federal government, no one's proposing solutions to these problems. In fact, much of what they're proposing will make these matters much, much worse. And ultimately what that means is that it's going to be left to the states to try to fix this problem. And so I hope our state legislature is up to the task of really trying to address these kitchen table economic issues for people. The things that we're working on a lot are homelessness and housing affordability. I do think it's an undertold story about how pressing this problem is across the state of Washington. We think of it as a King County or Seattle problem, but actually this problem is playing itself out in Spokane, in Yakima, in the Tri-Cities. I mean, they're basically, the housing prices are being bid up everywhere. And as it gets bid up, the cost of rent goes up with it, and wages aren't keeping up. And so for every community, even though it's more acute here in Seattle and King County, it's happening all over the state. And I think this is going to ultimately need some state solutions to be able to address this problem. I mean, I think they're going to need to have answers to this when they stand for election in 2018. I think there are definitely going to be questions of basic economics, and family security and economic security are going to be a big part of standing for re-election, and so they're going to need to have answers. Unfortunately, it is a short session, so it'll be hard for them to get a lot done. The good news is they passed a bipartisan package on paid family leave last year, I think that's going to give a lot of people a conversation point, and that's a really good starting place. I think it's also an indication of what we in Washington State can do differently than in Washington, D.C. We can work on a bipartisan basis to solve a problem for people. But I'm hopeful that they're going to be able to address some things. I mean, winning control of the chamber and breaking the gridlock that have been present, hopefully they'll be able to get some things done.